All right, here we go. We're going to do some practice problems. Now, I want you just to get a piece of paper out or something that you can just write down these problems. I did put them in Schoology, so they're there for later if you want to go look at them and practice them again. And the quiz itself will have the only kinds of problems that will be on the quiz are the ones that we're practicing right now. Not all of these, maybe they won't all be on the quiz, but these are the only kinds of problems on the quiz. So you'll know exactly what you need to know. All right, so here we go. First question says solve. All right, so you're going to write down the problem. Directions say solve. That's all the directions say. So tell me what that means to you. What is going through your head when the directions say solve?
Substitution or elimination.
Exactly. Substitution or elimination. And since the directions don't stipulate, you can do this however you want. So, Caroline, was that you talking? No?
No, it's me.
Ella? Good.
Ella.
Ella.
Yeah.
Ella. All right, Ella. Makes me think of my little grandson. We have a dog named Stella, but he can't say S's, so he calls her Ella. And she is an adorable dog, by the way. All right, what do you want to do? Substitution or elimination?
Can we do multiply the bottom by a positive 2?
Okay, so what you're doing is eliminating, and that's absolutely fine. So 3x minus 2y equals 11, and 10x plus 2y equals 28. Remember, if you choose to multiply by 2, that's perfectly fine, but you have to multiply everything by 2. And Ella, I'm guessing you did that so that when you add, your y's are gone?
Yep.
So we add, so we got 13x equal to 39. So x equals 3. Now, if you stop here, you'll get partial credit, but not full credit, because you're not done, are you? No. We still need to find, that's x, so we still need to find our y. Remember, we write our answer like this, as a point, an ordered pair. So how do we figure out the y?
Put the x for 2, sorry.
The x is going to go in anywhere. It can go in here, 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 doesn't make any difference. Pick an equation and put the x in. I'm just going to pick the top one. So I have 9 minus 2y equals 11. 3 times 3. So I'll subtract 9. So negative 2y equals 2. And it looks like my y value is negative 1. Anybody have a question about that? On the quiz, the question will have exactly the same directions. It will say solve. When we get around to test day, I will tell you how to solve. You'll have to solve different ways. But for this quiz, you'll just solve however you want. Substitution or elimination. It doesn't matter how you do this problem. The answer is going to be 3 comma negative 1. That doesn't change just because you do it a different way. All right? So now I want you to write down on your paper 3 matrices. One of them's called A. One of them's called B. And one of them's called C. Alrighty? And then I've got a few questions that go with this. So we'll start with these three. All right, so who remembers what this means? Problem A has a lowercase b and a 2-1 down here.
Isn't it the row is the 2 and the column's the 1?
And where do I look? Since that's a b, I look up here.
B.
Yep.
And then 0.
So I'm in the second row, first column. So second row, first column, wouldn't that be this number right here? Someone nodding, or we're all in agreement? So I need to go to the second row, which is right here. This is the second row and the first column. So that's a 2. So this letter tells me which matrix to look in. And then she's right. The first number is the row. The second number is the column. It's always row first, then column. Everything we do is row first, then column. Roman Catholic, row, column. Always, always. All right, what are the dimensions of matrix A? How many rows does it have?
2.
How
By
many
3.
columns does it have? Right, that's a 2 by 3. Rows by columns. Rows always come first, so it's a 2 by 3. A 2 by 3. Question C says, add matrix A and matrix C. What do you think about that?
Can't you not do it?
Exactly. Why can't we do it? That's a no-can-do problem.
Because it doesn't have the same rows and columns.
Exactly. It does. They're not the same dimensions. They don't have to be square. They just got to be the same. So if you have a 2 by 3 and a 2 by 3, that's fine. But you can't add a 2 by 3 and a 2 by 2. That just won't work. All right, now we're multiplying A. I think I'm going to move this because multiplication takes up some room. So I'm going to do A times B. So matrix A times matrix B. Now, sometimes you can't do these either. So what do you think about this? Did I just waste my time copying that down? Or is that a doable problem?
It's a doable problem.
Why?
Because if you do, that one's 2 by 3 and that one's 3 by 3, so then the first and the last number match.
Well, the middle ones. Let's think of it as the middles match, right? And then the outside ones tell me that's the size of my answer. So my answer is going to have 2 rows and 3 columns. And my job is to find all those numbers now that go in that matrix. All right, is everybody with us so far before we start actually typing in the numbers?
Can you start over? What did you just do?
The dimensions of this first matrix, 2 by 3. This one, 3 by 3. In order to multiply, the middle 2 have to match.
Right.
And then the answer is the outside 2. So it's going to have 2 rows and 3 columns. So now I'm going to start filling up those empty blanks. So to do that, I'll just pick a place to start. I like to be organized, so I'll start right here at the beginning. That's in the first row and the first column. So it's always rows, then columns, always. That's how we do it. Everything's rows first. So I'm going to write down my first row, which is -1, 1, 5. And then next to those numbers, I'm going to write my first column, which is 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to multiply each pair of numbers and then total them up, add them up. So it looks like that is what? -1, 2, and 15, so that's going to make 14. 16. -1, 2, and 15. Yeah, that'll be 16. Mary Kate, why is your camera off? Okay, all right, here we go. Next, I'll move over here. I need first row, but now I'm in the second column if I'm going to that spot. So -1, 1, 5, and then 1, 0, -1. This is so easy. Just be organized. Just be organized. So my first row times my second column for that spot right there. And that looks like it's going to be -6. And then first row, third column. So here's my first row again. Here's my my third column. I got 27. Now, what I want you to do is go ahead and see if you can fill in the bottom row here. So now you're going to be using your second row of numbers. So you're going to be using 3, 0, 2, and you're going to pair them up with this column, and then this column, and then this column. And that's how you're going to fill that bottom row. So go ahead and take a second and see how far you can get with that. Yeah, I've got mine filled in, but I could absolutely have made a mistake. Chase, Katie, Daz, I can't see you. Isaac. Thank you. All right, I got 917. Anybody match me? Cammie says she did. Annie did. Gabe got a thumbs up. Ella raised her hand. Awesome. So we got this. Caroline says thumbs up. Good work. Okay, so we're okay with matrix multiplication. Again, we got to move on. So if you have questions about this, this is what you come to office hours for. All right, so we got a couple more questions here, though. All right, so that's the, all right, we got 3 more that have to do with these same matrices. So here are the last 3 potential quiz questions. All right, there they are. So this is it for our review. Then we'll go to the calculator and start doing some new stuff. Here we go. First thing, determinant of A. Now remember, your determinant notation is these vertical bars. Okay? What about that, guys?
Is that when you rewrite the first 2 columns outside?
Okay, that is a determinant procedure. But this one doesn't have a determinant because in order to have a determinant, you have to be square. And that is not a square matrix. Now, the next one, Annie, is square. And this is exactly when you recopy the first 2 columns. So B is square. It's a 3 by 3. And to do the determinant of a 3 by 3, we do exactly what Annie said. We recopy the first 2 columns. So here's column 1, here's column 2. We recopy those very carefully in order. And then remember, we always start here. Always start with the first number you wrote down, which is right there. And we multiply. And I got 0. And I multiply. And I got 3. And I multiply. And I got 2. So we're multiplying these 3 numbers. Then you multiply these 3 numbers. Then you multiply these 3 numbers. Then you, yep.
Question.
Uh-huh.
How do you know, like, with that one to multiply it? Like, how do you know if it's square and the other one isn't?
What are the dimensions? How many rows does this have?
3.
How many columns does it have?
3.
Square.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
So we add those up. So my downs all together, my downs total up to 5. All my down diagonal multiplications totaled up to 5. Now I got to do from the other direction. So here it's a 0. Here it's a -1. And here it's a 10. So multiply these, and multiply those. Remember, when you multiply by 0, you just get 0. So any row, any diagonal here that's got a 0 in it is just going to be 0. That totals up to 9. So my downs were 5. My ups were 9. What do I do with those 2 numbers?
You subtract 5 minus 9.
Yep, 5 minus 9. So that gives me the final answer to the problem, which is -4. All right, now there's one more. I'm going to move it over here because it's going to take a little bit of space. But the last one says we need to find the inverse of C. Now, we did this I think it was yesterday, and it's a two-step process. I know you're not working in your notes right now, but does anybody remember what is the first piece?
I do.
Oh, okay.
So first you go down and then up.
So first
you multiply those numbers.
So first we're gonna find the determinant of the matrix. So
and then
that's
you build a new matrix.
Yep. So what she's talking about when she says go down and go up. Remember, when you do the determinant, you start with the first number and you multiply here, you get 3. Then you multiply here, you get 5. And then what do we do with those? My downs are 3, my ups are 5.
You subtract them.
You subtract them. It's exactly what we just got done doing, except it's smaller. All right, so then what? That's step 1.
And then to build your new matrix,
So
you have to flip the first corner with the bottom right corner.
So here's my matrix.
So you switch the 3 and 1.
Yep, you switch the 3 and the 1. So you put the 3 up here and the 1 down here.
And then the 5 and the 1 become positive because those corners switch. They go opposites.
Yes, so the opposite
But they
of
stay in the
negative
same
5,
spot.
they stay in the same spot. The opposite of negative 5 is positive 5, and the opposite of negative 1 is positive 1. So that is your new matrix. These two flip-flopped, and these two, you just make them opposite. Now what? One more piece, and we'll have the whole thing done.
Don't you divide it by -2?
Yep, we take each of these numbers and divide by whatever our determinant was. So our determinant was -2. So we're going to divide everything by -2. And then if we can simplify, we simplify. I don't think we can in this problem. So we have -3/2, -1/2, -5/2, and -1/2. And that is our inverse. Sometimes you can reduce these fractions if we didn't work out in that one. So that's it, two-step process. So your quiz, I don't know whether it'll have all those problems, but whatever problems it has, be just like the ones we just practiced. Okay?
May I please go to the bathroom?
Yes. All right. So now, time for the calculator. Before we get the calculator out, though, I need you to write something down. We're in our notes now, so let's put away this paper, keep it in a safe place. Come to office hours if you need more practice. All right, first of all, I want you to do this for me. We're in our notes. This is section 7.3. And it says use your calculator to solve the following. So for problem number 1, I want you to write this matrix down. Underneath it there where you got a little room, I want you to write 1, 1, -1, 2, 2, -1, 3, 14, and 3, 1, 1, 14. Now, I'm not making those numbers up. What did I just do? I made a matrix, and where did those numbers come from?
From the x values, the y values, the z values, and then constant.
Exactly. So everything has to be lined up. So make sure your equations are lined up. But these are your x coefficients, these are your y's, these are your z's, and then these are the constants. So in the original problem, there's like an equals here, right? You don't have to put that in there, but these are the numbers that it equals. So when we do this work on our calculator, because the calculator is literally going to do the whole thing, the only thing you have to write down is that, which is the matrix we're going to put into our calculator. And then you're going to write down the matrix that actually comes out of the calculator. Okay? So you're going to write down the matrix that goes in. And now we're going to go through and do the problem. And then we're going to write down the matrix that comes out. And that's where we're going to get our answer. You'll see how totally cool this is. All right, so remember yesterday, we got our calculators out and we found the matrix button, right? The matrix button's in the first column, fourth one down. So we're going to turn our calculator on and press second matrix. That brings up my matrix menu. Okay? Now, the first thing you're going to do, and let me just stop here. I don't know if anybody has ever put a matrix into your calculator. If they have, it's probably still there. Don't worry. Do not be concerned if you already have stuff in there, because you're going to type right over it. All right? It's going to be gone. Don't worry about it. Okay? If you have a brand new calculator, it's probably blank. Okay, so we're going to put this matrix into our calculator. When you put numbers into your calculator, you go in through the edit mode. So see how in your menu here across the top, see where it says edit? Click over to edit and press enter. Now, the first thing, look, you should have a cursor flashing. It should say matrix A, and then it's flashing. What are the dimensions of this matrix that I'm going to put in? How many rows does it have? How many columns does it have? So type 3, enter, 4, enter. So what you just did was tell the calculator that matrix A, which is what the calculator named this, don't worry about that. Matrix A has 3 rows and 4 columns. Now, it should have set up a matrix for you on the screen that either has blank spaces or numbers, and it doesn't matter which it is. We're going to start putting in our first row. So my first row, type 1, enter, 1, enter, -1, enter, 2, enter. And then it should pop you down to the second row. 2, enter, -1, enter, 3, enter, 14, enter. And then we're in the third row. 3, enter, 1, enter, 1, enter, 14, enter. Now, does everybody have your matrix in? Okay, when you put in that last 14 right here, did you press enter? Okay, now what I want you to do, once you have the matrix in, so now you have, it's in there, and now you're going to work on it. But first, you have to leave the matrix menu, or leave the matrix menu, yeah. So press second quit right here in the front row, second quit. And now you should be back to just your regular home screen. Okay? Now, go back into the matrix mode, so second matrix. And now you have that menu back again. Now the first time, a minute ago, we went all the way over to edit, because edit is where you put in your matrix. Now we're ready to do some math. So we're going to click over to math. And you have a ton of stuff here, guys. Do you see one of them is determinant? So your calculator will actually find determinants. We're not doing that right now, though. We're not going to do that. But
Ms. Ford,
yes.
how do I get, like, off the graph?
What do you mean? Okay, press second quit. and then go back into the matrix menu.
Oh, okay.
Now, we're over to math. Now you need to go down a long ways, guys. I want you to keep clicking all the way down this big long string of stuff until you get to the one that says RREF. All right, so keep clicking down. It's a long way down there, but did you eventually find RREF? You don't need to know this, but I'll tell you, that stands for Reduced Row Echelon Form. Okay, press it, enter. So now what you should see on your screen is RREF. Now, go back into your matrix menu and just hit enter. So now on the screen, it should say RREF A. Press enter again, and it gives you a new matrix. And the matrix it gives you, hopefully, looks like this. Does your matrix look like that? Now you're thinking, okay, so what's the answer to the problem? Well, remember when we put the original in? Remember how this was the X, these were the X numbers and the Y's and the Z's? Well, it's still that way. These are the X's, the Y's, and the Z's, and that's an equal sign.
Mrs. Ford,
Uh-huh.
I got kicked off. How do you take your first one and change it into the second one?
Okay, tell you what, let us finish this. We're going to do another one in a
Okay.
second, okay? Now, what does that top equation say then? 1x equals 4. 1y equals 0. And 1z equals 2. So this set of numbers is actually the answer to the problem. So your x value is 4, your y value is 0, and your z value is 2. So in this operation, the calculator did a whole bunch of substitutions and eliminations, mainly eliminations, and ended up giving you the answer to the problem. When we do this for like a grade, like a quiz or something, all you do is write down the matrix that you put in, the matrix that came out, and your answer.
Will
Alright.
it always be 1? Or will we have to sometimes, will it be like a 2? Will it always be 1?
What do you mean? Here,
Like in X, Y, and Z's?
that will always be, these will always be ones. That's what reduced row echelon form is. Those are ones. All right, so let's try again. So we're moving on to the next problem. We're putting, if we got confused or whatever, just stop. We're starting over with a brand new problem. We're going to go through all those same steps exactly again. So everybody's paying attention. We're going to start by writing down, I'm going to do problem 2 now. So I'm going to start by writing down the matrix that I put in. Okay, so this time the matrix that's going in is 1, 4, negative 2, 0, 2, 1, 1, 6. Remember, if the equation does not, if you have a plain y or a plain z or something, that's a 1. 1y, 1z. And negative 3, 3, negative 5, negative 13. All right. So especially if you are at all confused, please don't be typing without me telling you what to type. If you know what you're doing, go for it. So I'm going to put this new matrix into my calculator. How big is it? How big is that matrix that's going in? 3 by 4, 3 rows, 4 columns. So second matrix, click over to edit and press enter. 3, enter, 4, enter, because that's the size of the matrix I'm putting in. Now, are some of you concerned because there's already numbers in there? Don't worry, you're going to type right over top of them, okay? So now we're going to type 1, enter, 4, enter, -2, enter, 0, enter, 2, 1, 1, 6, and -3, 3, -5, and -13. Now it's really, really important that you press enter after that last number. So I put in my -13 and I pressed enter. All right, I'm going to stop and let everybody catch up. Everybody got the matrix in? All right, so once you've pressed that -13 and you hit enter, then go back and second quit. Right in the top row, second quit. That's going to take you back to your home screen. Now, second matrix, click over to math, and then all the way down to your RREF. And press enter. Now your screen should show an RREF and a parentheses. Okay? So we're going to go back into second matrix one more time. And so press second matrix and then enter. And now your screen should say RREF A. Press enter one more time. And your new matrix should pop up. Remember that last column is your answer. So these are decimals, but you could certainly do fractions if you prefer. I got 3, -0.5, and 0.5. Is that what you all got? Caroline, you follow all that? Thumbs up, okay. All right, we're going to try another one. Now, I want you to look carefully at problem number 3 because there's something a little bit odd about it. Does anybody notice anything that's a little bit different about problem 3?
There's no y value for the second one.
Okay, so when that happens, and that will happen more often than you think, when you have a missing variable, you've got to put in a 0 in that spot. Okay? So when I write my first equation, that's easy. This is problem number 3. So it's 1, -1, 1, 0. But now my second equation, she's right. The y is missing, so I have to put in a 0 there.
Mrs. Ford,
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm the only one home right now. The plumber just got here. I need to go downstairs for like 2 minutes.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. All right, so let's make sure you've all got the right matrix here. 1, -1, 1, 0. 2, 0, -3, -1. -1, -1, 2, -1. Everybody good with that? Now we're going to put that into our calculator. So let's make sure we follow the right steps. Second matrix, over to edit. Enter. Oh, no. Second matrix, over to edit. All right, enter. How big is the matrix I'm putting in? 3 by 4. Jade is showing me her fingers there. 3, enter, 4, enter. Now I'm going to put in those numbers carefully. And remember, you must remember to hit enter after every number, even the last one, all right? So I've got mine all in. Are you all in? Okay. Now, what happens next? Once I get everything in and I've pressed enter, what then do I have to do? No one remembers?
You do second quit.
Second quit. Okay, we got to get out of there because as long as you're in the edit menu, guys, it's just going to keep putting numbers in and you're done. You don't want to put any more numbers in. So second quit. Now go right back in though, second matrix. And instead of going over to edit, we only go over to math. And then all the way down to our favorite button in the whole wide world, RREF. And then one more time, back to second matrix. Press enter and enter. And that should give you your matrix. And this time I got 1, 2, 1. Make sure you write your answer as an ordered triple. It's not an ordered pair, it's an ordered triple. Do you feel like you're getting the hang of that, guys? All right, let's look at the next one because it's got another issue. What is wrong with the next one?
There's a W.
Okay, so in other words, Ari, you don't have 3 equations and 3 variables. You don't have 3 equations with x, y, and z. We now have 4 equations and 4 variables. So when I write my matrix, it's going to be bigger. It's going to have x, y's, z's, and w's. So here we go. First equation, 1x, 1y, negative 1z, no w's, and a 4. Now, I want everybody to look at that and make sure you understand why I wrote those numbers in that order. All right, the next one has no x, 1y, no z, 1w, and a negative 4. Matrices force you to be organized. Next one has 1x, negative 1y, no z's, no w's, and a 1. One x, no y, 1z, 1w, and a 1. Does anybody have a question about the structure of that matrix? Okay, now this time when I go to second matrix and I go over to edit and hit enter, remember, the first thing you got to do is tell the calculator how big is your matrix. How big is this one? How many rows does it have? It's 4 by 5. That's right, it's a 4 by 5. So you're going to type 4, enter, 5, enter. And don't worry, there's still some numbers left over in there. Just type over them. So start typing it in. Those zeros are extremely important. Please don't lose them along the way. This matrix is so big you can't even see the whole thing on the screen, and that's fine. Just keep typing away. It'll fill the numbers in the right spots. All right, you got them all in? Remember, as soon as you press that last number, which is a 1, and you press enter, then you're going to do second quit. Then you're going to go back into matrix, so second matrix, over to math, down to RREF, and then one more time, second matrix, enter, enter. I got 4.5, 3.5, 4, and negative 7.5. Is that what you got? So when I write my answer, X, Y, Z, W, I did them in that order, so I'm going to go ahead and write them in that order. That's the order I put them in into my calculator. So 4.5, 3.5, 4, and negative 7.5. Now, I have been the one helping you with this, so I know what buttons you're pressing, but just for clarification, when you write your first matrix and your second matrix, and you put that little arrow in there, write RREF above it, and that will tell whoever's looking at your paper that that's the procedure that you used. Because you know that big long string of stuff that's in there, and we had to scroll down to get RREF? There are other buttons we could press to get the answer. So that's the one that we used. All right, you ready to try one totally on your own? Here we go. Last one, up to you. When you write your original matrix, please make sure you're putting in any necessary zeros.
Where's the other one that we're supposed to be doing?
Number 5?
I don't see a number 5. Maybe I'm wrong. Is there one on the notes?
Does everybody else have a number 5 on the notes?
Oh, I see it. I see it.
Mary Kate, I don't know what you're doing, but you're gone again.
I got a call, so it went off paused.
Well, this is a big important problem. We need to look at this. First of all, this is the matrix that came out of mine. I need you to double check that. Now, I want you to think about the matrices that came out of our other problems. I didn't write them down, so I don't have anything exactly, but they all looked like something like this. Okay? That's what they looked like. And we said that that meant the answer was 1, 2, 3 for this problem because the top row literally says 1x plus no y's and no z's equals 1. So that top row literally says x equals 1. And the middle row says y equals 2, and the bottom row says z equals 3. Now, this system of equations did not work out that nicely. I want you to look at this bottom row right here, and can anybody tell me what that row says? Remember, this is the x column, this is the y column, and this is the z column. So what does this equation say? 0x plus 0y plus 0z equals 1. Remember, there's an equals in there. Understood. We don't write it, but it's understood. Look at that equation. What about that? Can no x's, no y's, and no z's add up to be 1? What's the answer to this?
No solution.
No solution. Now, that's a little tricky. So that when you do your RREF procedure and your new matrix comes out, pay attention to make sure that it looks like this. These should all be 1s, and everything else should be 0s, except for that column. As soon as I saw these numbers right here, I knew something was fishy, because those are supposed to be 0s if it looks like it's supposed to. So even though the calculator does all the work, you got to be smart enough to recognize whether you're going to get an answer like we did here, this would be an answer, or if you get no answer. All right, one more quick comment, I'm going to let you go. When we solve systems like we did, the very first practice quiz problem, it was a system of equations and you use substitution or elimination to solve. What you are looking for is where those two lines cross each other. When you're doing these bigger systems, like problem 5 that we just did, those aren't lines. When you have x's, y's, and z's, those are planes, like the floor and the ceiling and the walls. So you're looking for where those 3 planes come together. And that doesn't always happen in a point. Sometimes they don't intersect. Okay. All right, is that good? Everybody good with that?
Thank you.
All right, I'll see you next time. Have a good day.
Thank you.
You're welcome.